Hello, assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome back to a new tutorial. And in this tutorial I will teach you how to make for loop in C language. So the IDE I'm gonna use is Xcode, and you can make this function and this for loop function in almost every language and on almost every IDE. So let's start with C language, and let me erase this one. Let's start with our C language and make a for loop. So what basically we need for a for loop is we need three things. First is we have to initialize a digit, then we have to give it an initial value, and then a terminating value, which is a sentinel value, and then we have to tell it how much we have to increment or decrement in it. So let's move to our screen and hide all the useless stuff and write our code. So to start with C language, we have to include #include stdio.h, which is the most important header file for all the functions to work. And then we have to write int main, and then we have to add two curly brackets with simple brackets. Then we have to add curly brackets, and in the curly bracket we have to write all of our programs and programs, codes, and everything we have to write. So let's start with for loop. First of all, we will write printf. Printf is the command we use to print or display something on screen. We write printf left bracket, and then we use double quotation mark, and in this double quotation mark you can write almost anything you want to, which will be displayed without any change, and the compiler will not scan anything in the double quotation mark except for things we use with % sign. So let's rewrite hello YouTubers, how are you all? So you can see I had made spelling mistakes in this to tell you that there is nothing gonna happen if we made any spelling mistake or anything else. It will be just printed as we write. Then after each statement we have to use semicolons if the statements end there. Then we will write our for loop, which will say for, then you can see the Xcode tells about what to write and how to write. The most left column is initialization of the for loop, and for initialization we will say I is equals to, you can write anything instead of I, it can be anything like L, K, say anything you want. So we write I, which is most common. I is equals to 1 at the start of our for loop. Then in condition we'll say if, we don't write if, we just write I is less than equals to 10, which means I will run from 1 to 10. And then in increment we can write I is equals to I plus 1, or we can write I is equals to, or we can just write I plus 1 plus, which means I plus 1 after every loop or after every cycle of the for loop. After this we can just press tab and we go to statements, and in statement we can write print f. This is the for loop and it prints hello and counting. And if you want to display something in your printf statement which might change every time it prints, and for this you can use %d for if it's an integer value which changes, c for if it's a character value it changes, f for it's a floating value, a floating number. Floating means a number with decimals, and you can use I as well for an integer. And so we are using d for our integer, and after the double quotation marks you can just press comma, and you can write the value which will gonna change. So I will is the value, and we just close the brackets, and this is the end of the statement. And we will add semicolons, and we will press enter. After the loop, we will write return 0, which means the main function won't return anything. And then we will just run the program. Oh my god, we got some errors, which are the semicolons. And sorry for this. Before you can write I in a for loop, you have to initialize I. We will write int, which means integer, and we will write I, which is the integer value we're going to initialize. And after this, we can just write semicolons, which means initialize int. You can also write int is equals to 1, which means we will initialize I as 1, or you can just leave it as I, because we have already initialized I as 1 in our for loop. After this, we can just run the code, and it will print some weird stuff because we have not added any enter or spacing in our coding. To add a space using a printf command, you can use \n, which will move the pointer to the next line, or which will move the pointer to the next line. We can do this same at the end of each of our statement. So every time it completes the loop, it enters a line, and it won't write in front of the previous words. And you can just rerun the code. And now you can see it came in a sequence, and we can just move it up. And hello YouTube, how are you? This was our first line, which is outside the loop, and then we write this is for loop, and it prints hello and counting 1 2 3 till 10. You can see the change in the counting as the loop proceeded, and after each cycle the 1 was changed or was incremented by an addition of 1. We can modify our for loop by increasing the condition limit, and we can see how it changes the loop. So now the loop is printed till 15, because after each cycle 1 was added in I, and the loop runs till it was less than or equals to 15. As it increases from 15, it terminated and the loop finished. You can just change here. You can just make it I is equals to I plus 2, which means it will increase by 2 instead of 1, and you can rerun the code. Now you can see it starts from 1, then 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 and 15. You can change the code as well, and you can just make it go infinity as well. If you do that, I minus minus, which means cut off or take 1 value from I after each loop, and after doing this will make an infinity loop, and this can cause the software to halt or to stuck. But let's give it a try. Kaboom! And it's just start going down, and let's stop it. You can see how much fast a computer can decode a software. Oh my god, just stop it. Yeah, you can see how much fast a computer is. The amount of calculation it can do in milliseconds. So this is how for loop works, and I think it's enough for you to understand how a for loop works and how to initialize values in a for loop. And that's all for loop, guys. Hope you liked it. Hope you understand how to make a C language for loop. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel and watch and share the video for others to watch. That's all. Take care. Allah Hafiz. See you in the very next video.